And lastly for today, Layling, please. Thank you for coming in a wee bit earlier.
No worries, I apologise to Joseph for walking in the middle of his speaking.
No, you're right, you're right.
I'll just start now. Okay. Kia ora everyone, my name is Stanbury. I am part of Greening the Red Zone and I am here to speak on their behalf as well as my own. Right, so we all know that Christchurch was built on floodplains and swamps. We all know that a swamp is just a place that gravity fills with water whenever it rains. This means that many parts of Christchurch are flooded whenever it rains. Now, there has been extensive research done and practical ways of fighting flooding. Stop banks right up close to the water's edge don't work. We have seen that throttling our wide braided river systems into one narrow channel just builds up sediment in that riverbed as the river has no access to its floodplain to overflow and drop its gravel onto. I remember when the Ashley River flooded and burst its banks, and one of the farmers was quoted in the press as saying, "It's not a flooding issue, it's a sediment issue. The riverbed is getting choked up with gravel," and absolutely right, but of course they stopped short of saying why the riverbed was getting choked up with gravel. With the stop banks right there, there was nowhere else for the river to put its sediment. But of course no one wants to shift the stop banks out by even a metre or even just punch some holes in the stop bank to let the water through, because that floodplain is land that could be used or abused without any thought of future ramifications. So we know that taking a river's floodplain away from it forces us to either waste time and money dredging the river, which is expensive and also terrible for the river's ecosystem, by the way, or we keep building the stop banks higher and higher, even after the riverbed is higher than the floodplain, causing massive issues when, not if, it bursts its banks. Science has shown time and again that it is completely impractical to try to fight nature, or in this case even just to try to fight gravity. You cannot force tons and tons of water plus the sediment it carries into narrow channels. Even with the most expensive pumps technology can give us, this is a disaster waiting to happen. The only practical way of dealing with flooding is giving the water somewhere to go that gravity will take it without us having to try and fail to pump it there. I am talking, of course, about wetlands. We need a lot of wetlands to prevent flooding. A lot of our wetlands have been drained and built on. I have been asked more than once, why do we need so many wetlands? And my answer to that question is, where else are you going to put all of this water, and how exactly do you think you are going to get it there? This is what happens when you build in a floodplain. Sure, technology is great, but it isn't magic. We as humans need to get over our own pride and hubris and realize that you cannot fight nature, you cannot fight physics. And yes, I'm sorry, we do actually really need to reinstate all of our wetlands. We need to work with nature rather than against it. This is not just some hippie dream, this is backed by logic, this is backed by science and plain common sense. There is going to become more of a problem as climate change continues. For years, scientists have been telling us that climate change will bring more extreme weather events, and we have seen this happening very recently in Auckland. We are not prepared. Climate change is not just coming in the future, it is here, it is happening right now. So with this in mind, I was incredibly disappointed to hear the proposal to defer the Waitaki stormwater wetlands. The Waitaki Storm Basin is critical infrastructure because it is designed to help address flooding in that area. We need this built yesterday, not deferred. Flooding issues will only get worse, and if you defer this, you will be responsible for massive loss of people's possessions and even possibly lives, as people tend to be more prone to sickness when their houses get flooded. In the long run, it will be much cheaper to build the infrastructure now rather than forking out tons of money out after disaster. We need flood prevention right now. We also need to do everything we possibly can to reduce climate change. Studies show that if we put more safe cycleways in, more people will start biking. Also, putting in more bus lanes and routes will encourage more people to bus and reduce congestion on roads far more effectively than just building another lane. So I am absolutely livid that anyone would consider deferring Avon Otago commuter route to the east at the same time as deferring Wheels to Wings MCR. Cycleways and stormwater treatment wetlands should be the highest priority. I would like to state for the record, I am a ratepayer, and I would love it if you actually upped my rates and prioritised mitigating the effects of climate change and reducing climate change. The corners we are cutting to save money are the very foundation that we as a city, as a people, depend on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. You're spot on for timing. So Sarah would obviously like to say that.
Oh, it's just that that's... No, I'm just saying that's much more detailed than your written submission. Are you able to send that through so it could be logged with the rest of it? That's all.
Absolutely.
Because you've got it on paper there. So
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. And thank you very much, Layling, for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in early. Thank you. Okay, guys, we're done.